everyone, and welcome back to Mind Your Mission, a podcast where we try to help Christian women navigate towards what God says is good in His Word. Today, I'm really excited because Liz is going to be sharing with us her birth story. Liz gave birth almost 2 weeks ago now. Is it over 2 weeks?
No, it's 12 days.
12 days. 12 days ago, as of the day we're filming this anyway. So I'm excited for her to share her birth story with you. And as always, we can always see God's faithfulness through every story in life, honestly, if you're walking with Him, but especially birth, because it is, when life is brought into this world, and God is definitely involved in every single one of our birth stories. So I'll pass it over to her. This is actually going to be our last episode of 2025, which is actually crazy because it marks 1 year of Mind Your Mission officially. So we've been doing this podcast specifically for 1 year now, but we're going to take a break for the rest of December and just take a break for the holidays, but also so we can get organized for 2026. We're excited for what's in store, and hopefully you'll stick around and join us. So Liz, I'll pass it over to you.
It's so crazy. It's been a year and we started the podcast like not pregnant, and now we have
Yeah.
2 kids, which they're how far apart are they? Maybe a little less than a month apart, 3 weeks apart. Maybe a little over 3 weeks apart.
What day was he born? Because she was 1 month yesterday. So
Okay.
really just over 2 weeks apart.
Yeah. So they're crazy how close in age they are. And it's been fun to go through this together. And I'm super excited to share my birth story. It's not what I thought it would be, but also it's not what I thought it would be. It was a positive experience nonetheless, but a long experience. But I'll start before the actual birth because I feel like I maybe talked about it on the podcast a little bit, but I think from like 37, 38, maybe 38 weeks and on, my blood pressure was always kind of on the line. I don't think they actually diagnosed me with gestational hypertension because sometimes it would be over 140 over 90, which is like the diagnostic level for that. But then it would go back down to like 130s over 80. So it's kind of always teetering around gestational hypertension, which you typically are induced for that because it can develop into preeclampsia basically overnight, which is pretty dangerous condition that I fully don't even really know what it is. So basically I was dealing with that on and off, and I really did not want to be induced, but thankfully they didn't induce me yet. I don't know if this is making sense, but it's probably going to be kind of all over the place. Postpartum brain.
Yeah.
But I got to at 39 weeks, they sent me to the hospital because at my appointment, my blood pressure they said was 160 over 100. It wasn't. I got to the hospital, went back down to like the 130s over 80s, which is where it kind of had been. So they sent me home. So I was thankful for that because I thought I was actually going to be having a baby that night, and I wanted to avoid induction, but obviously do whatever is best. But they tested me for preeclampsia there. I've been tested the week prior too. I've been tested multiple times for preeclampsia, and it had all been negative. So thankfully, I didn't have to go to an induction. So I got to make it to my 40-week appointment. So I got to make it full term, and my blood pressure was fine there. They did a non-stress test since I was over my due date, and everything was fine. So I was thankful for that. And so they were going to let me continue going on. And then I think at like my 41 and 3-day appointment, they would probably send me for an induction just because my blood pressure was kind of iffy. So I was like, okay, I think this baby can come by then. That gave me a lot of peace that I could hopefully go into labor naturally. I don't remember the date, but Monday was the day of my 40-week appointment. And then I think Tuesday I started having like some contractions, but nothing crazy. Like I just noticed like my stomach tightening and like a little bit of like cramping. And then Wednesday morning, this is the 26th, I lost my mucus plug that morning. So I woke up at like 5 a.m. and noticed like I had lost it. And after that, I started having like cramping. It wasn't contraction-y, but I started having like pretty consistent cramping. So I was like, okay, feels like something's happening. But Matt and I just were like, well, let's just hang out for today. Thanksgiving was the next day. So we didn't really have like any food or any plans for Thanksgiving. So to this day, we just decided to go like get all of our favorite foods and just hang out. So we like went to the gym in the morning. I just walked on the treadmill pretty much. And that's kind of when like contractions started like kind of happening, I noticed. And then after that, we got McDonald's breakfast because I wanted a McGriddle. And then I got Starbucks after that. And at this point, I noticed like I was definitely having contractions, maybe like I don't like exactly remember the time, maybe like every 5 to 10 minutes, but they weren't like painful. They were like, I noticed them, but I could definitely like, I didn't have to like stop and breathe through them. Like I could keep going on my day. So we just kind of chilled for the rest of the day because we thought I was like probably in early labor. So we like watched a movie. I took a nap. So I was able to nap. It really wasn't that bad. And then we went for another walk and I like curb walked on this walk. I also did the Stairmaster at the gym too. So maybe that helped kick things into gear as well, like side stepping up the Stairmaster. And after the curb walking, then I started to have like more painful contractions and I couldn't like breathe or talk through them. And this was probably like, I don't like exactly remember the time of things, but like probably 4 p.m. on Wednesday. And they started getting like really close together, but they weren't super long. They were probably like 30 to 60 seconds, depending on the contraction, but they were like 3 minutes apart. They were like pretty intense and pretty close together early, and I've never been in labor before, so we were like, what do we do? So we called our doula, and she like stayed on the phone with us and like listened to me and time the contractions, and she was like, yeah, you should probably go to the hospital because they are really close together. Honestly, like, throughout my whole labor, my contractions kind of stayed the same intensity. They were always pretty intense. It did get a little bit worse from here, but honestly, they were all pretty intense. Like it was no like building, it was just like all of a sudden. So then this Matt got Five Guys because I wanted to eat something or try to eat something. So I got like a shake because I was like, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to eat here pretty soon. So we got down some food and then headed to the hospital. And we got there about 7 p.m. on Wednesday night. And they put me into triage. And it was really busy giving birth around the holidays because Thanksgiving's the next day is kind of dicey because the hospitals are like short staffed and everything like that. So it was kind of busy, a lot going on, but they brought me back there and they checked me and I was 1 centimeter dilated after having contractions all day. Not the intense ones had probably been for like 3 hours and 90% effaced. So I was pretty thinned out, but I had not really dilated at all. So that was kind of discouraging because I hadn't had a cervical check up until this point the whole time. So I had no idea what I was at. And so I was like, oh, okay. Well, but my doula was like, effacement is the most important thing because it takes longer to thin you out than it does to dilate, and dilation can happen pretty quickly. So I was like, okay. But they wouldn't send me home because my blood pressure was high and I was 40 weeks and 5 days at this point. So I was past my due date a little bit and they tested me for preeclampsia again because my blood pressure is always high. And this time my labs looked good. Like my organs hadn't started like shutting down yet, but there was protein in my urine. So I was like borderline preeclamptic. So they wouldn't let me go home because at this point I was like kind of developing it. Thankfully it hadn't affected like my organs and stuff yet. And I like looked up what preeclampsia is because I still don't know, but my mom had it in like all her pregnancies. So I thought maybe it would come up, but it thankfully didn't come up till the end for me. I think she got it like at 37 weeks typically every time. So, and it's pretty common apparently like at the end of pregnancy too, because my body was just kind of done being pregnant. I think the last few weeks it was kind of over it. And this was probably like the breaking point of it. Basically, apparently, this is what ChatGPT said preeclampsia was. It's where the placenta doesn't attach and develop its blood supply perfectly. So the blood vessels in the placenta stay narrow, stiff, and like high resistance. And so the mom's body tries to compensate by increasing blood pressure. And this causes like inflammation in the body. And this causes leaking of fluids and the stress on the organs. So your kidneys will like leak protein, which I think is what mine started to do because there was protein in my urine. And then you can have like your liver gets irritated. So you can have like abdominal pain. I didn't have any symptoms. So it never really developed
Mhm.
for me. And then your blood vessels in your brain constrict and can cause like headaches and vision changes. I didn't have any of that. So it really didn't get like serious for me. I think it was just like if I had stayed pregnant, maybe this stuff would have happened to me. And it can cause more swelling in the hands and face, which is always where I had more swelling. My feet didn't really ever swell, but my face and my hands were kind of swollen, but it wasn't anything that would make you think I had preeclampsia. If you've seen pictures, like it gets pretty swollen. I was never to that point. So it never really got serious to me, but they just like wouldn't let me go home because my body was kind of over it. So basically I was not a fan of the midwife on call, but at the hospital, they were like, oh, we can like start you getting induced. But I knew I was like in active labor, even though I was only 1 centimeter. Like I was having contractions every 5 minutes, well,
Mhm.
3 minutes. But I kind of spaced out when I got to the hospital a little bit and then they strengthened. But I knew I was like, we'll just wait till the morning and like see where I'm at because I think I'm in active labor and I just want to see like what happens to my body overnight. So basically they had no labor and delivery rooms because it was super busy. Go figure. Even though there were no inductions, I guess they're really busy on Thanksgiving. So I went to like an antepartum room overnight. So basically it's like where people would go if they were like high risk and had to stay in the hospital for a long time before like giving birth or something. So that's where they had me. So I went there and our doula was here, and then we told her to go home because we're like, well, let you know me go to a labor and delivery room. So it was basically Matt and I in this room overnight, and there's just like a bed, and I am hooked up to all these monitors because I have preeclampsia, so they're monitoring me and the baby, like taking my blood pressure every like 15 minutes. And so it's basically us and this monitor in the room, and I had to like detach to go to the bathroom. It was kind of miserable, but it was kind of nice. Just no one really checked on us because no one thought I was
Mhm.
like in active labor. So it was kind of just Matt and I was kind of in a lot of pain this whole night. Like I had to have like counter pressure. Like Matt couldn't sleep, so I was like every time I had a contraction, I needed counter pressure, and they were probably 3 minutes apart at this point
Mhm.
too, and pretty intense all night. So yeah, I couldn't sleep. They're like, "Oh, try to get some rest," and I'm like, "You think I can rest?" Like I just think they thought I was nothing
Yeah,
was.
that's crazy.
I know. I was like, I cannot rest. And then I think around like 3 or 4 AM, I started like having the shakes and I like threw up, and the nurse came in and then she gave me like throw up bags, and then they checked me after that because they're like, oh, those are like symptoms probably of like labor, I think. So they checked me after that and I was a 4. So they're like, oh, you are in active labor. Like, we'll try to get you into like a labor and delivery room because they normally said they don't admit you till 6 centimeters, which I feel like you can go from 6 to a 10 pretty quickly.
Mhm, mhm.
I didn't. Fun fact. I did not go from 6 to 10 very quickly.
Yeah, spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler. At this point, things were like progressing. I was like, okay, like I got this. Like the contractions were painful, but you had a break, so it really like wasn't like I had like at least like 3 minutes in between them, so I could kind of like catch my breath and like I was like, I can get through this. Like it's hard, but at this point, I was still in good spirits, and I was happy that I dilated to a 4. So I was like, okay, things are happening. So I just kept laboring. I, like, couldn't lay down. That was, like, the worst position, so I had to, like hands and knees, I feel like typically is what I did, and then Matt would, like, apply counter pressure. That was, like, pretty much what I did the whole night. So and at this point, I think I had a bloody show too. I think I've been leaking amniotic fluid, but I didn't know at this point, and I thought it was just, like, maybe more my mucus plug. There was meconium in my water also, so I didn't really I think maybe I was leaking fluid because by the time they checked my water, it was, like, partially broken, not fully broken, so I never really, like, broke my water or really felt breaking of my water, but I had had a bloody show, and I was, like, kind of leaking fluid at this point, so I'm pretty sure my water probably, like, partially ruptured. Then they said they were gonna try to get me into labor and delivery, and then, like, a pipe burst or something on the floor, so I think they were all busy, and the nurses were amazing. Like, I really loved the nurses. That's pretty much all I had at this point. I really liked them. But so they kind of forgot about me again. And then they had a shift change. And at 7 a.m., another girl came in and checked me. And also, to preface, I was also GBS positive. So I needed like 2 rounds of antibiotics, which is also why I wanted to get to the hospital a little bit. That's why we kind of went earlier because it can take like 5 hours because you have to get 2 different doses. And so I was like delusional thinking my labor would be 5 hours, but it happens sometimes.
Hey, yeah. Next birth, it could.
Yeah, next birth. I know watch like so many birth stories, and sometimes first time moms do have them that quickly, and sometimes they're like mine and they're not quick. But it was going quickly kind of to this point. Like I was like, okay, so then they checked me again at 7 a.m. and the girl was like, oh, you're like 7 to 8 centimeters dilated and like 100% effaced. So they started freaking out because I hadn't had any antibiotics at this point. So like bring over the chair. They rushed me over to like labor and delivery, and I was in a decent amount of pain, I feel like, at this point. But still, like I was mentally aware. Like I was excited because I was like, oh, like 8 centimeters, like I'm almost there. Like I can do this for a few more hours, like thinking that it would be a few more hours. Cause I feel like that's typically what you can stall in labor, which I knew could happen. But at this point, I was like, oh, it's progressing. Like I'm almost there.
Well, that's when you texted me at 7:30
Yeah.
that morning because you hadn't I had known that you were feeling some kind of contractions on Wednesday,
Yeah.
but I hadn't heard from you all Wednesday afternoon or evening. But then you texted me Thursday morning, you're like, "I'm 8 centimeters at the hospital."
Hmm.
And so I was like but I think I woke up a little bit after 7:30 that day, and I'm like, "Shoot, did I miss it?" Like, I
They all thought I was having the baby within like an hour. They're like, you're going to have a baby soon. You're going to have a baby this morning. I was like, oh, yeah, like I can do this. Like, this is fine. And so I thought I was having a baby soon. Matt thought I was having a baby soon. They're like, make sure you're like, get your doula over here. It's a good time for her to come. So we like called the doula and all that. And they rushed me over and got me. They're like, well, at least try to get 1 dose of antibiotics in. So I'm like, cool. Things are moving. Cause I've been progressing at this point. So I was like, okay. And then, so this is 7 a.m. They switch me over to labor and delivery. My doula gets there. and they called the doctor. I think the doctor probably got there like 9 AM. So my doula probably got there like 8, and she started putting me in different positions. The only like annoying part was frustrating was that I was hooked up to the monitor and we asked for like continuous monitoring, like, oh, we don't have that. And we're like, pretty sure you're lying, but whatever, because you had it there. The
You mean
continuous
the
it was
wireless
horrible.
monitor?
Yeah, they wouldn't get me on wireless monitoring. Like I was fine being monitored because obviously I didn't want like my placenta to shut like
Mhm.
things didn't happen quickly with preeclampsia. So I was like, okay, fine being on the monitor, but I couldn't like basically. I left the bed, like I just had to be near. So we got me on like the ball, the peanut ball, stool, like a bunch of different positions to try to get him lower because he was still pretty high. So, which could have been also because my water hadn't fully broken. So we were trying to like get my water to break and like get things moving. So we were basically laboring. My doctor came in and he's like, yeah, we're not going to like do anything. We're not going to break your water or anything until you get 2 doses of antibiotics. And like if the baby comes before that, fine, but we're not going to like do anything to like speed it up, which was fine. I didn't really want any intervention. So I was like, that's fine. That's what I want anyway. Because I got the first dose probably around like 7. I couldn't get the second dose till like 11:40. So I knew I had until then, but I was hoping, me and my doula were hoping we could like get the baby out before then. Because I was like, I got 1 dose, like it's good enough. That's fine. So we labor and it was really intense, but my contractions kept getting farther apart. Like at this point, they were probably like 5 to 7 minutes apart. Like they just weren't coming as quickly as they had been. Because when I was 1 centimeter, they were 3 minutes apart and like a similar intensity. So it was really weird how my body like progressed. But yeah, they just kept getting farther apart. We kept trying different positions. I don't we don't really know why that happened. My doula said maybe like my uterus got tired. It could have been like a side effect of like the preeclampsia and my placenta. I don't know. So I don't know why. I think it can be common for first time moms too to just like stall in labor. But from like 7 a.m. to 2:30, I was laboring and I was like hoping I was getting close because I was having pretty bad contractions, but yeah, they weren't super close together. So my doula was like, I don't know how dilated you're gonna be. And then they checked me and I had not made any progress. I was hoping I'd be like close at like 2 something. Cause that's when the doctor ended up coming in after I got my antibiotics and stuff. I don't really remember the timeline completely of things, but so that was really discouraging. And so when he checked me, they checked to see if my water is there and they broke the rest of it. So we were like, maybe that will help. Maybe he just needed that to break to like get into a better position. But no, my contractions weren't getting any closer together or anything. And at this point, I was like not mentally there. I've been
Mhm.
having, at this point, it was almost 24 hours. I pretty much had like a 24-hour labor, like from when I had intense contractions, even though like the dilation was weird. But at this point, it had been like almost 24 hours of like being in pain. And I was like, I'm over this. Like, I want to be present when he was born. Like, I always said, like, I wanted to go natural if I could. I didn't, spoiler, which you could probably tell from the way the story's going. But I was thankful for the interventions. Like in my case, I'm like, I don't know how long I would have stayed there or anything. And overall, I had like a really positive experience. But at this point, I was like not mentally in a good place. And I just wanted to be present for like the birth of my son. And obviously, if it had come earlier, like I was present up until like maybe noon. I was like kind of out of it and just kind of in a bad place mentally. But I was thankful. The 2 things that really did help me with contractions were, um, the counter pressure, like, for my doula and my husband, and then the combs. I really liked the combs, and I wanted to go in the shower, couldn't go in the shower because I didn't have portable
Mhm.
monitoring, so that was really frustrating, like, there wasn't a whole lot I could do, and we tried so many different positions, and nothing was working, and honestly, being in the bed was, like, awful. That was those ones hurt. Like, when I was moving around, it was good, but at this point, I've been moving around forever, and I was like, "I'm over this." Like, I've been moving around all night. So, basically, they were gonna start me on Pitocin because contractions weren't happening, so they were gonna give me, like, 2, I don't remember, like, very minimal amount of
Mhm.
Pitocin just to see if my contractions picked up, and they did. But at this point, I was like, "I'm getting that epidural. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm over this. I don't wanna go through
Mhm.
these Pitocin contractions after." Like, I was kinda scared for the Pitocin contractions, and I was like, "I don't wanna go through this after being in labor for so long." So, best decision, honestly, for me. Like, I have no regrets about it. Like, I knew my boundaries and I knew my breaking point. I was like, "This is, like, the point when I, like, need
Mhm.
it. Like, I just can't do this anymore."
Yeah. Well, with all the factors, the potential preeclampsia, the Pitocin in general, the time in the hospital, like, it's just like, to get to that amount of time in a space that's not
Yeah.
comfortable where you can't get in water, like, if I couldn't have gotten in the pool, like, those sort of things, like, if you don't have access to that, then it makes complete sense, and, like,
No.
knowing, like, have you had a plan that you knew you wanted to be present for the birth, and you hit that point, and you were honest with yourself,
Yeah,
so.
I hit the point where I was like, "Yeah, I just need to be here," and honestly, it made it more enjoyable, like, the last couple hours. Because after they got me on Pitocin and I got the epidural, which honestly, everything I was scared about for the epidural, like, I was scared I wouldn't be able to move around. I moved around in the morning, so honestly, it was fine. I wanted to lay down at that
Mhm,
point, but I wanted to be able to, like, move around, and I wanted to be able to feel contractions, like, I was worried for pushing and not being able to feel anything. But the lady who did my epidural was amazing, and nothing felt I didn't feel anything, probably because I was, like, delusional at this point. But, they gave me, like I didn't ask for, like, a walking epidural, but that's kind of what I got, like, I had full movement, everyone reacts differently to the epidural, and they were, like, surprised at how much movement I had, so I was really thankful for that. I can move my legs, like, I went to the bathroom right after birth, like, I had full movement, which was amazing, and I could feel all my contractions, they were just, like, kind of in my I could feel it in my back and, like, my butt, but my stomach, I couldn't really feel the contraction, so I still felt like I could tell when I was having a contraction. So every fear I had with it, honestly, it was fine, like, I didn't have any negative side effects from it, thankfully, but I know, like, next time it could be different, like, I just had a good one or a good experience with it, so I was thankful for that because I honestly didn't feel numb really at all, other than I just stopped feeling the really intense pain in my, like, lower stomach.
mhm,
So at that point, I was feeling a lot better and I drank some juice and I had some ice. Before this, I had eaten somewhat, like I had running gels and like, but I really didn't have an appetite. So I really hadn't eaten in almost 24 hours too. So yeah, I was tired. And at that point, I didn't like take a nap. Everything happened pretty quickly after I got the epidural. And then I wasn't on Pitocin for very long because they gave me the epidural and then I got Pitocin. And then after an hour, I like started shaking and like feeling the need to push.
mhm,
So, then they came in and checked me, and I was, like, 9.5 centimeters dilated, so once I got this stuff, I don't know if my body just needed to relax or my body needed a little bit of the Pitocin just to make contractions closer together so that I could progress, like
mhm,
so I was thankful for that, and then so the nurse was like, "Oh, yeah, you are ready to push." So it was cool that I still felt the urge to push and, like, I could tell. I was like, "Yeah, about to." So basically, she said there was I don't remember what she called it. There was, like, a lip she just needed to, like, tuck in. So I could have started pushing then, but the doctor was having Thanksgiving dinner, so they called him, and he's, like, 10 minutes away. So then he came in. This was probably, like, 4 something, maybe. I don't really remember the timeline of things. But it was probably, like, around 4 something. So then he came in. I don't even think he came in for a while. I pushed with just the nurses for a little bit, and they let me push on my side, which I was thankful for because I didn't wanna push on my back. Because I hate laying on my back in pregnancy, number 1, and also it's, like, not a good position for pushing, and with my hips, I wanted to be in, like, a good position, and the side lying, I feel like was good with my hips, and I could kind of rotate, like, my knee in to kinda, like, open up my pelvis, so I was thankful I could push on my side. So I pushed with the nurses for a little bit. I think she ended up tucking in that piece. The pushing was really intense, like, I could feel pretty much everything, which is like, cause yeah, everything below my, like, stomach I could feel. So, it was a lot of pressure, and I could feel myself tear, fun fact.
mm, mm, mm,
So, that was fun. But, yeah, basically, I pushed with the nurses for I pushed for, like, probably 45, 50 minutes total until he was born, and I probably pushed most of that time with just the nurses and my doula, like, my doula held my leg, and Matt had my hand, and then the other nurse had another leg, I don't really remember, but I remember it being pretty intense, especially, like, the ring of fire, which the doctor was in there for that. So, eventually, once I get closer, they bring the doctor in, and this whole time I'm just like, I just want to get this baby out. This has been so long. Like, and also it's Thanksgiving. I feel bad all these people being here. It's like literally around dinner time. So I'm like, I need to get this baby out. And also, I was always worried about needing like an emergency C-section because I feel like that happens a lot during the pushing. They see like the heart rate decelerate, and which is just probably half the time normal, but sometimes maybe I don't know. So I was worried about that, which C-section hadn't come up like this whole time in my labor because I was worried like when I wasn't progressing, I was like, oh, I'm going to need a C-section. Spiraling maybe a little bit, but no, it never really came up. That was like one of my fears, but thankfully it didn't have to go there. But I was like pushing so intensely because I was like, I need to get this baby out. And meanwhile, I thought this baby was like a normal sized, he was baby. Like in my ultrasounds are like he's 50th percentile. So I was like, oh, he's not going to be that big. So I wasn't like prepared. Anyways, the doctor comes in when I'm getting close and I keep pushing. He, like, has me pause a little bit. I think the cord was wrapped around the neck, so, like, I push and then he unwrapped the cord around the neck, and then eventually he came out. The ring of fire was intense, and, yeah, I definitely felt myself tear. Like, the pushing It was fun. But he
Second
also
degree tear?
yeah, I had a second-degree tear, which honestly, I was like he was 9 pounds, 1 ounce, so not as big as Aaron's first baby, but pretty big baby, but he also came out with his hand, like, right here,
Yeah,
so that
that makes it
also
worse.
yeah, that also contributed to the tear. So but honestly, recovery the tear wasn't that bad, like, recovery's been fine. I definitely felt when they stitched me up and eventually they numbed it because I was like, "I can feel."
Yeah, the stitches were like, I don't know that I would say ever that they're worse than labor, but, like, the stitches sucked.
The stitches were rough. I was like, because 'cause you're like it's kinda, like, overstimulating a bit because I just, like,
Yeah,
had been in labor for so long and I just gave birth to this baby, and they had to take him away, like, pretty much
yeah,
immediately because of the meconium, so they had to make sure he, like, didn't aspirate. So but they brought him back probably, like, 2 minutes later, like, it was very
mhm,
quick, and I was kind of, like, out of it at this point, and that placenta came out, like, pretty much immediately, which was nice. So that happened really quickly, which I was thankful for 'cause I was worried. There's stuff I always hear complications with stuff, and I'm like so I was thankful. Like, everything was, like, healthy, and then but, yeah, I was kind of out of it. I, like, have the baby on my chest, and I'm being stitched up, and I'm also trying to breastfeed for the first time.
yeah, that was probably, like, the most emotional part for me was, like, afterwards, because like you said, it's overstimulating. You've gone through this whirlwind of a labor, it was super long in your case, and then you can't enjoy that moment that everyone talks about really enjoying because, like, you're and for me, they had me, like, tilted so far down that, like, Weston was just yeah, it's just not a comfortable time.
No, I did not, like, have I really just, like, wanted Matt to hold him, like, I didn't I, like, held him. I think he latched for a little bit, but I really just wanted Matt to get him because I was like and then they push on your stomach to, like, get
Mhm.
so that part, I was kind of out of it for, like, most of this.
Yeah.
But overall, it was, like, a good experience for the most part, other than I wish I was on wireless monitoring. I feel like that would have made my birth experience a lot better. Like, I like hospitals. I don't know. I haven't had an awful experience yet. Like, I know you had a bad experience kind of with your first birth. Like, not a bad experience, but I feel like it was a hard experience. And I would say overall my experience was positive. Like, the nurses were super nice. I liked my doctor. He was chill. Like, I knew in a doctor I wanted a chill doctor because I didn't want my doula said if I had another doctor, the C-section would have came up like 5 times. The same doctor you had for your first
Yeah.
birth. He was
I'm
like, "If
sure
you
she yeah.
C-section." So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was thankful, like, I had a chill doctor. Giving birth on Thanksgiving was it's sweet because I always figured he would. I was born on Valentine's Day. My dog was born on New Year's Eve, and my mom was born on Christmas Eve, so it's fun that he's born on Thanksgiving, even though it'll change every year, but
Yeah.
so, that was fun. I was really glad I went into labor not having to be induced, like, it was fun to experience, like, the whole natural part of it for
Mhm.
the beginning. Like, that was fun, and I really enjoyed the hospital stay
Mhm.
after. I liked it was I felt like I was in a five-star hotel. I don't think Matt enjoyed it. He didn't, like, enjoy being woken up and stuff, but
Mhm.
I enjoyed all the food and, like, I enjoyed having the nurses there 'cause, like, I didn't know anything, so it was nice to, like,
Mhm.
have them there as support as well. But the one thing that did happen so Matt and I mean, Matt we were out of it, but, like, we remember like, we told everyone he was 9'1", like, that's just what we heard, and we told everyone that he was 9 pounds, 1 ounce. That and then we got up to the birth suite, and on his, like, thing, it was written 9 pounds, 11.6 ounces. I was like, "Oh, that's wrong, like, he's 9'1". But then the next night, they do, like, the newborns 24-hour newborn screening or something, and I think they weighed him, and he was probably, like, 8 pounds, 11 ounces or something when they weighed him. And they freaked out because they had him recorded at 9/11, so he had lost a decent amount of maybe it was 8'7", I don't know. He had lost a decent amount of weight if he was actually 9/11. So they, like, kind of freaked out and, like, called the pediatrician on call, and they were gonna have me supplement with, like, breastfeed and then supplement with, like, 15 milliliters of formula, and I was like, "This just seems wrong." He was eating super well. Had a lot of colostrum because I and because I pumped it before to try to go into labor, and even at the hospital, like, "Wow, you have so much colostrum," probably because I pumped a lot to try to induce labor. So I knew I had milk, and he was eating, like, pretty probably, like, every hour, every 2 hours, like, he was eating pretty frequently, and he was having he pooped probably, like, 3 times and peed,
Yeah.
like, 4 times, which I think is a lot for 24
Mhm.
hours after birth, and it's funny because I don't know if anyone listening listened to the podcast episode where I talked about how, like, in the anatomy scan, they thought he might have, like, bowel issues, like, maybe a bowel obstruction or something, so that was something it had cleared up, so I wasn't, like, super worried about it, but there's always something in the back of my mind, like, is something wrong with my kid, but I think he pooped in his amniotic sac, and then I think an hour after he was born, he had a huge poop, like, so he pooped pretty frequently, so that
Yeah.
took away the fears of that. But basically, they were freaking out because he had lost over 10% of his birth weight already, which he hadn't actually. So they were having me supplement with formula, and it just felt wrong. Like, I was like, I even mentioned to the nurses, like, "You sure it's not 9-1? Like, that's what we thought we heard." And I was like, maybe we were like out of it. Like, I obviously like didn't record it. But she was like, "No, it has it recorded here as 9/11." So then I think that night was really rough, the second night in the hospital, because we had to wake him up and feed him, and then I felt like I was, like, shoving formula down his throat, and 15 milliliters is not a lot, but he would not eat it. He hated it. He would spit it up, so we didn't even really we tried. The nurse came and helped us kinda try, but he did not like being bottle fed, and he did not like the taste of the formula. Like, he was, like, gagging it up. So, that was really hard. I, like, probably had a mental breakdown that night and cried
Mhm.
because I was, like, so frustrated that
Just confused, I'm
yeah.
sure.
I was like, "He just seems fine, like, he's going to the bathroom a lot, he's super healthy." Couldn't I'm very thankful for that. Mm, it was also the middle of the night, so there wasn't really anyone around, and that was frustrating. So in the morning, my doula had texted us and, like, asked us how we were doing, and then so I told her about I was like, "Oh, we thought he was 9/1, but I guess he was 9/11." And she's like, "No, he was 9/1," and she had a picture of it. So we were
Yeah.
being discharged that morning, so I showed the pediatrician, and she's like, "Oh, like, you don't need to supplement anymore." She kind of seemed annoyed, not at us, but probably at, like, the hospital, like, someone had recorded it wrong, and because I told the nurses too after, and she was like, "Oh my gosh," and they went and found another document that had 9/1 on it. So, someone had recorded it wrong somewhere, which was pretty frustrating. Like, I was just happy I didn't have to supplement with formula, but, like, that was a pretty big mess up. Like, if someone didn't know, like, you coulda just blindly, I don't know, been, like, force feeding your baby and, like,
Mhm,
stomachs
mhm.
are only so big. So and it would've caused problems now too because you go to the pediatrician, they're, like, not at their birth weight. He's almost at 9/11 though, so he's almost at
Yeah,
his birth
fake birth
weight
weight.
now. Yeah. So that was, like, kinda frustrating, but I'm thankful we got it figured out. I'm so thankful my doula took a picture of it because we would have had nothing to, like, stand on other than, like, we thought they said 9/1. Because I remember being like, "Oh, it's like a big baby," but, like, 9/11's, like, huge, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if he's that big." He's not even that chunky, he's just really long. He's a very
Mhm.
tall baby. So but yeah, so that was kinda frustrating in the hospital, but we got it all figured out and he's fine now. And I was always worried about, yeah, health issues with him or something because I worry about everything. And with the like scare on the anatomy scan, I always wondered if something was wrong with him, but he's been super healthy so far. So that's been like really thankful for that. And recovery really has not been bad. Maybe I like, had a hip surgery early this year. So maybe I'm like comparing it to that, but I'm like, oh, it's like totally fine. Like I feel pretty much I haven't been doing much. I'm like 2 weeks, so maybe I'll start like going on walks and stuff more now. But overall recovery has been pretty easy, surprisingly. And then breastfeeding has been going super well. I was worried about that, and that's been going really well. Overall, like the post-birth experience has been really positive. But overall, like, the postpartum experience has gone super well, and overall, like, I look back at my birth story, and it wasn't, like, traumatic or anything, like, I had a positive experience, although, like, it was long, which happens sometimes for first-time moms, like, nothing really went wrong other than I don't know why my contractions stalled, but we'll never know that, but other than that, like, I had no, like, scares or anything, which
Mhm.
I was really thankful for because I know, like, a lot can happen, so I was really thankful for that, and the nurses were super great. I obviously have things I would do different next time. Like I with TRICARE Prime, you can only go to like certain providers here. So I'm hoping I'm out of the Coast Guard next time and I can have select and go to this midwifery care center that I wanted to go to originally, but they don't only take select and they deliver at a different hospital that has like tubs and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
the birth center connected to the hospital. So I know like that would have been my dream birth experience, but it didn't happen. This time, I'm hoping next time I can go there or at least to that hospital that has, like, the tubs. Yeah, but overall, it was good. As good as it could be. Like, I look back at it and it's like the experience that gave me my son, and
Of
I
course.
yeah, and so I'm really thankful for it, and this is probably all over the place. I didn't even look at my notes. So I don't even know, like, what I said, but yeah.
It was coherent to me. I mean, I've obviously heard it before, but it all makes sense, and I think this was definitely true for me, especially given the fact that I didn't switch to home birth until 30 weeks. My reflection of my first birth happened over a long period of time. Like, of course, you have your initial reaction and your thoughts and your feelings, but it sticks with you, like they say, and you'll continue to have reflections and feelings, both probably positive and some negative, maybe. Like, I think that they'll be productive feelings, though. Like, they're all things that have helped me reflect on both, like, the logistics piece, but also, like, where God showed up through it, like, you'll see layers as time goes on, and you'll have more reflection as time goes on, so I'll be interested to hear, like, in a month, in a year from now, like, how you feel about it and what you decide to do differently or the same next time, and again, I didn't have some of the reflections or feelings that I did until the very end of pregnancy, so it's like, it'll continue to change, and, like, I don't know when I say that I had a traumatic experience, I don't sometimes I use that word and sometimes I don't, because sometimes when I think about it, it felt traumatic, and sometimes when I think about it, it didn't seem that bad, so it's like, I think it always will change, and God will use it in different ways to shape your decisions moving forward. I also just to put this out there too so people know, like, it's not it's not uncommon for when labors go super long like that, like, in yours, I mean, people go longer than you went
Yeah.
even, but even if you do, like, plan to have a home birth, sometimes home births go so long that the midwives will decide, "Okay, given the circumstances, you need a break. Let's go get the epidural so your body can, like" to prevent a C-section. So there is wisdom in making that decision too, so I hope that no one ever hears, like, the home birth side of things and it's like they're anti we're just we're just all about having all the pieces of information and making the best decisions that we can after doing our due diligence. So, yeah, like, that's not I think that's totally fair, and I can't imagine, like, after a 5-hour labor, I'm like, "Oh, Liz," like, that's and not eating and not sleeping and all those
Yeah.
things, like, you're ex in the how are your hips feeling now? Are your hips feeling good now? I was curious about that.
Yeah, honestly, that was one of my fears in birth and one of my fears in getting the epidural is like I wanted to be able to feel my hips, but I had full feeling in my legs, so I could feel them, and I've had no pain at all postpartum in my hips at all. Like I've not even they hurt more during pregnancy than they do now. So
Nice,
super
yeah.
thankful for that. But yeah, I know. I like obviously wanted to try to go without any interventions, but you have to hold your birth preferences like with an open hand. And my doula was like talking to me, they're like tools in your toolbox. Like I got to try it for as long as I could, but at the end of the day, like that the interventions are what helped me progress and like get to the end of labor quickly because my body was kind of over it. It was over kind of towards the end of pregnancy. And if I tried again, like I would love to try again to go unmedicated, but obviously things happen. But I was thankful for the interventions. Like I didn't want to jump to them unnecessarily, but I was thankful that I had them
Mhm.
when I needed them because I don't know what my experience would have been had I not. But yeah, people do have way longer labors than I had, so I don't know. Like I would listen to some and people would try to do like a birth center and then after like 50 hours of labor, like transferred to the hospital. So they're tools in your toolbox and I was really thankful for them in the moment. I have no regrets in getting them. I'm like thankful I got them and but I would like to still try in the future not to, like if I have a quicker labor or something. But they were helpful at the moment.
Yeah,
Well,
and of course, as Christians, we know that our identity is not in our experiences, it's not even in our choices, like, thank goodness that nothing I was reading in Mark, I think it's Mark 7, where it's just, like, the things outside of us aren't what defile us, it's, like, what comes from the heart, so it's, like, even if we have the most unhealthy lifestyle and make all the worst thank goodness God's grace covers it all, and it's where we should be more focused about where our spirits are and focus on the decisions that are eternal. Of course, as we talk about all the time, the decisions we make here on earth, we want to resemble God's character and we want to walk in his will and his design and in ways that will glorify him the best, but ultimately we can't do anything to save ourselves, including decisions or strategize our way through things or anything. So, just there's that reminder. Thank you, Liz, for sharing. I'm excited to continue to hear your reflections as time goes on and also just to see how you grow now through motherhood, even though you've been a mother now for, 9 plus months, but now that he is earthside and you're experiencing breastfeeding and postpartum, and it's funny today I was realizing that like the newborn stage is hard, but toddler life is just a different hard. Like it's all meant to teach us and help us grow as parents. And like my dad always says, having kids teaches you to be an adult. Not that you're not an adult already, but I'm just excited to see what you continue to learn and excited to reflect on it both with you and then on this podcast as well. Like I mentioned, we will take a break for the rest of December and then come back in January. And we're excited to just see what the year brings. I feel like if anyone follows us on Instagram and saw my reel that like popped off and went viral.
That
I
was
laugh about it because it's literally the reel that I put the least amount of time in ever. And that's like it was a good humbling moment because I sometimes am like, "Okay, this music is trending and this like it's yeah." And
it's
I
hard to
spend a lot
get.
of time and it's a deep message and all this stuff. This didn't have a deep message, wasn't aesthetically cute, like none of those things. 2.5 million views. So I'm laughing at that, but it motivated me and it made me realize that mostly I need to pray. We need to pray about the podcast because I don't ever want it to be something that, like, I'm trying to control just for numbers or views or anything like that. Like, it's in God's hands, and I just wanna glorify Him with it, and it's something fun that I feel like is a gift for us to be able to do. So, anyway, it was humbling, but also hilarious in my opinion. So,
I know, it's like you put it so much effort into it and it gets like 1,000 views, and then
yeah.
the internet is funny, but consistency is key and prayer. So I'm excited for the new year and to get back into things because I've been in the newborn bubble for a couple weeks, but now I'm excited to like put more effort into the
Fairly so. You've fairly so been in the newborn bubble, but I'm excited to figure out what our new normal looks like, and if you're one of those people who started following us from that reel, then definitely leave a comment because I just find it hilarious, and especially if you made it to the end of this episode. But hopefully you guys will stick around in the new year. We hope that you have a very Merry Christmas and a great holiday season, hopefully spent with friends and family and reflecting on the love of Christ. With that, this has been Erin and Liz helping you mind your mission.